This is an open letter to Mr. Tucker Carlson. Hello, sir. How are you? Hope everything is fine. Salute. Here's the thing, sir. Um, I watched your interview with the gentleman who was you can say, was a good Catholic, educated Catholic, and uh, he was a little emotional with regards to uh, what the where do you draw the line between life and death, and why these doctors give themselves uh, the system, why the system gives itself the right to uh, not try to continue life as best they can. With all kinds of possibilities, you can lengthen life, and if we have to, if we can, we should try to lengthen life as much as possible, because there is always room for improvement and miracles and this, that, and what a good Catholic should believe, or a good religious person, even Muslims and Jews and Hindus, and they all want to keep their dead alive. They want to extend life as much as possible, supposedly. So this is the idea that these religious, old religions have, you know, because who wants to die? I don't want to die, and therefore we should increase the length of life, but by whatever means possible. That was the whole gist of it, because you don't know. Maybe it's not dead. Maybe it can understand. Maybe because it can give birth, it's it's alive. It's obviously, if everything is functioning. If a mother in coma can give birth, yeah. So does a tree give birth. The tree, produces seeds, and that's giving birth. For the tree, that's giving birth. Well, does that mean the tree has any higher cognitive functions? No, it doesn't. It just means it can procreate, and to be, the first step is to procreate. And tree is, so that's why tree is, because it can procreate, make similar. So, but you wouldn't you know say a tree is the tree is an entity, but it's not a entity with higher functions. And what is a human is an entity with higher functions. Humans, human entity without higher functions is basically those comatose people in the Matrix. It's like, if that's human, that's only higher functions. You see what I'm saying? That's working in a simulated environment. That's higher functions. Uh, so when the two meet, the higher functions and the entity meet, you have a human being. Without the higher function, when the two meet, well, the other one could be a tree. The other side could be a tree. It's like entity, being meets an entity with limited functions. And that is a comatose person. That is a retarded person. An entity without higher functions. And if your idea is that all these entities that have a potential to have higher functions, all these entities should be kept alive in a hope of a miracle, or nature will improve and potentially higher functions will return, because this entity has a potential for higher functions. Well, then, those people who can afford it, they keep a comatose alive for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. But and those people who can't afford it, what do you suggest? Because the next step is that you say the state has to step in if people can't afford to keep their comatose alive and the retarded children alive. If people can't afford it, the state must provide. Well, then you're back to communism, because imagine silos and silos of comatose patients and retarded children, and you see what I'm saying? Imagine silos and hundreds of thousands providing services to these entities who don't have higher functions, in a hope that higher functions will develop, or this function is enough. Saying that this function is enough, imagine the beehive keeping the sick bees alive. Now, instead of gathering honey, the whole beehive have to try to revive and keep alive the comatose bees, the misfigured bees, the whole hive. The, who's gonna gather honey? The whole hive is providing services for the unfortunate ones. Is that good use of humanity? Would that qualify as quality time? Here's the thing: humanity is spending quality time taking care of its unfortunate ones in a hope of improvement or a miracle. Yeah, improvements in comatose patients, in retarded patients, children. Improvement happens, but it's a miracle. It has basically has that probability as well. That's a probability of miracles. It's like 1 in a million. Yes, may suddenly the comatose may wake up, but 1 in a trillion is the number you're looking for when it comes to retarded children. Here's the thing. Um, with regards to retarded children, it seemed you have this, you and your guest, the good Catholic gentleman, had this idea that all milk and honey with regards to retarded children, that they're always happy and they're always nice, and this, of course, when you understand less, you have less to worry about, so you're happier. That's why your dog is always happy, because he understands even less than a retarded person, somebody with Down syndrome. Forget about the retarded, sir, because even the Down syndrome, they're happy. Not, that does. It's like your dog is happy. If you don't understand, you're happy. The more you do understand, you're unhappier you are, and it's understood that people who understand a lot, slowly over time, they become paranoid, and anyone who understands more than others, the higher the IQ goes, the more paranoid and stressed the mind becomes, because they understand more possibilities that shit can go wrong. If a retarded person can understand only one possibility of shit going wrong, a very intelligent person understands the 101 possibilities that the thing can go wrong. So it becomes a stress on the mind and eventually madness. So my point is this. Here's anecdotal evidence, but it makes my case. The point is, where do you draw the line? When I was like uh, 12, 13, 14, I was a burden in somebody's house. It was an uncle of mine. And I was a burden in their house because they really didn't want my presence there. Not because it was I had any issues. The problem was, they had raised all their kids, and even their last kids, they got out of the house as soon as possible by sending him to study the last few years of high school in Spain, not at home. And before that, he was in a probably boarding school, a very expensive boarding school. So basically, they wanted to enjoy the retirement, and I was I was a burden. So for a year, I was a very shitty year. I was burdened until they packed me and sent me to the a boarding school. So my point is this: during that 1 year that I was full time a burden in their house, uh, I came across my first cousin, the first child of this uncle, and he was retarded. Not even Down syndrome, that there is some understanding is there is IQ 50, 60, 70. No, he basically, from what I saw, which was very, I didn't want to see it, and they were also ashamed, so they didn't want to see me to see it. So they try to make it so that we see as little as possible. I see as little as possible. But from what I saw is that this gentleman, he was like, at that time, he was like 30 years old, 31 years old. His function was basically walking around in a very crippled fashion all day long. Walking around in a very crippled fashion and biting on, they usually provided him with a soft cup so he can bite into it, not a hard cup, a soft cup. So he had his own, a bunch of soft cups were available, and this gentleman used to bite in these, walk around, bite into a plastic cup and make odd noises while shuffling along all day, to the point that he would do it all day, all night as well. But they would take him to bed and strap him down with, not a strap, just one strap across the belly, because he wasn't intelligent enough to open even that one strap. So one strap across the belly, and or wherever, chest, belly, wherever they had to put the strap, so this gentleman wouldn't get up at night and start walking around and make odd noises and fall down the stairs. It was a duplex. So, and it was, they so much didn't want me to see the situation, that every time he came home, they would ask me to sleep on the couch, because I was using his room. I could use his room because his room was, he came, when I say he came home, because my uncle was very wealthy, because he was a physician and practiced medicine in North America for 30, 40 years. So he put some money together. But even from the beginning, you start as a physician without student loans, because his education came from somebody else paid for education, some shithole that you guys want to suck in all their qualified immigrants. One of those qualified immigrants was my uncle, that somebody else paid for his education in a shithole, and once he got educated, he didn't have student loans. So when he went to Uncle Sam's land, a newly certified physician in North America with no student loan, because some shithole paid for it. Anyway, the gentleman made a lot of money, was able to save a lot of money, and had people had his agent in the stock market. At that time, in 70s, 80s, you had to have your own. You couldn't do it yourself, so obviously he made some money on top of his money and investment here and investment. He was doing okay without student loans. So this gentleman was able to provide, from age, I believe, 6, was able to provide full-time institutional care for his firstborn. So they made another child and another child, and their other children are very, very healthy and very smart, and all Harvard and Yale, my other cousins. But this one it was determined that from age 6, this one is going to go to institutional care. And why not, since my uncle could afford it? And what I saw of this gentleman during that year of my presence in my uncle's house, what I saw of those few days, they would bring him home like 2 3 days a year, around Christmas, and only around Christmas, 2 3 maybe sometimes at the end of the summer, 2 3 days here, 2 3 days there. That's it. Why? Because he had the intelligence of a puppy, a puppy dog. They actually had to feed him spoon by spoon at age 30, and they had to wipe his ass. And if you can afford it, you send to institutional care. Somebody has to clean up after him. Uh, but the problem is when you say, okay, rich people, their guilty conscience pays the money, somebody else takes care of it. Why? Because the wife doesn't want to take care of this mistake until the end of her life, because the mistake is younger than her. So she goes before he goes, the child goes. So she didn't sign up to spend half of her life, imagine half of her life. But it would be full life if the husband is also have to participate in taking care of this retarded child. So at least the retarded child would steal half of her life and half of her life, his life, because she wouldn't want to be a full-time caretaker, so she would expect the husband to chip in half the time, take full take care of a puppy, a large puppy. So my point is this, but imagine those families who are, cannot put money together. They actually have to spend a full lifetime taking care of a puppy. Who wants to spend a full lifetime taking care of a puppy? Here's the thing, what else I heard within your conversations, Mr. Carlson, is that you actually sent your smart kids to boarding school at age 14. I think it's a great idea. I think it's a very good idea, because in that case, both the child gets to have a life, because we are tribal, we are wolf pack kind of thing, and boarding school provides a small tribe for the raising of the child. It provides a good environment for the raising of a child, the kind of environment that matches well with your, primitive wolf-like mentality. A pack, a tribe, from this school, from that school, from the other school. Each school has a tribe, especially if it's a boarding school. Great idea. And also the parents get to have a life. They're not committed to their child until 18, 20, 25, 30, 40. They're not committed. Child to the boarding school, and then from boarding school to life. Go to college, again, that's another boarding school, which is away, and then life. We're only responsible to, 13, 14, 15 years max. Great idea. Every child has to have this for them. But the thing is, what you're saying is that I get rid of my responsibility at age 14 so I can have a life. I send my kid at 14 to a boarding school so I can have a life, so he can have a life. But I'm okay with those poor families who don't have enough money to actually get rid of their burden in life, who can't even send their special needs kid to a boarding school, to an institution to take care of. So they shouldn't have a life. The mother, the father, the child is not having a life. This cousin of mine that was like this, he didn't have a life. Exactly how much do you think he understands when he walks around all day, around the kitchen or around the building all day long, and bites into a goddamn plastic cup? How much life is that? And makes odd noises. It disturbs other people's life. And if they have to be full-time caretakers, basically they won't have a life. They won't have sanity. People who are full-time caretakers of these special cases, these oddities, they become very depressed. They lose their own sanity. Are you fucking kidding me? And the other option is that, okay, they can't afford, the family can't afford to take care of the comatose and the retard, but, you know, every life counts. So what is the next step? The government has to provide silos full of mentally retarded and comatose vegetables and put to work sane people and able people, many of them, to take care of the disabled people. Basically, the beehive, opposite of beehive, to the sane society. Somebody has to draw the line. And please go easy on the Christianity. Let's be frank. Christianity good enough as long, as much as hate killing people. Christianity teaches don't kill people, don't gloat in killing people, don't actually aim to kill people. Aim next to people, but don't actually aim at people. By aiming next to people, you send them a warning. That the atom bombs did not have to be dropped on real people, could have been dropped on a couple of empty islands just to show its power. And I have a feeling the Japanese would have pulled down their pants if it was demonstrated the power of an atomic bomb to them. I think they would have given up. But no, it again, that much Christianity is good, but too much Christianity is like too much Islam, is like too much Hinduism. It goes bad real fast. I mean, remember, the Dark Ages were the age in which religion, in this case Christianity, was in full control of Europe. And we call them by the Dark Ages. Every 5-year-old has heard about the Dark Ages, but people keep skipping over the part that it was the Dark Ages because religion had full control of society. Believe me, I come from a country that up to recently religion had full control of society. Now they have relaxed a little. Thank God for that. But even Saudi Arabia, is it a healthy country? Is the religion being full control of society? Is a healthy country? Saudi Arabia, you think is healthy? Salute. So, and Christianity is no exception. It's a religion. So having Christian leaders in charge of a society, it's yeah, it doesn't go well. Let's put it this way. It gets more when you go down the path of religion. There's always somebody more fanatic than you, always, and they try to out fanaticize each other. And that's the funny part. It's like, you know, when you fall on one side, everybody tries to out secular each other, and when you fall on the other side, everybody tries to out religious each other. I'm more Christian than you because I don't do this and I don't do that either. And they tried, then the whole thing becomes a, theocracy. So, bad idea. It doesn't go well. Science good, but proven science. Show some numbers and get some kind of consensus. Is that the right word, or am I pronouncing it wrong? Anyway, my point is this: that bringing Christianity into this business of where to draw the line, where life, what is life. I mean, the whole the guy said something like, you see, if you cut them, they bleed. They're alive. We can't withhold medical aid to them because if you cut them, they bleed. So we should keep them alive. Like, you cut a tree, a sap comes out. That doesn't mean a tree has any higher function. And hoping that you keep thousands and thousands of people alive just in the hopes that one make it. Do you want to expand your resources like that? Do you want to put millions of sane, normal, able people to provide services to keep up, just keep alive these silos full of vegetables? I mean, sorry, unfortunate humans with disabilities. Again, you can draw the line, and please, again, don't go back to but the people with the Down syndrome, they're so cute and so uh, they smell so good. And you know please don't, because yeah, of course they're like a dog. They're a little more intelligent than a dog, and of course I love dogs, but other people's dogs. I can't have dogs on my own because it just I don't like to pick up after a retarded kid, for the same reason that I don't like to pick up after a dog. Bites into that and bites into the other and digs here and digs there and eats this and eats that, and you're constantly, did he run away? Prevented from running away? What happened? You see what I'm saying? It's like looking after Dennis the Menace. But the thing is, you know, you want to have interactions with people more intelligent than if not in person, at least through a screen. You want to have interaction with people of equal intelligence or similar intelligence. You don't want to have daily long interactions with a puppy that you have to fucking run after and try to keep up and try to clean after. That's how I want to spend my life. I want to spend my life following a retarded person, trying to pick after them. They keep breaking shit and they keep messing up shit and they keep making noises at the odd times, and I have to strap them to bed in order to keep them from walking over and you know knocking on the door. I don't want to spend my life doing that and telling the society that, okay, if people can't afford to pay for someone to do that for them, they should do it themselves, or the government should provide free services for the mentally retarded. Isn't it better that you you stop the mistake from the beginning? Hey, if this is not coming along all right, if this child who was just born is showing clear signs that it's not going to be having a useful life, it's not going to have higher functions, then the birds do it, the bees do it. Exactly you know, how much more different do you think you are from the birds and the bees? Soul? I'm sorry. The same fear, you see the same fear in the eyes of a animal when they're about to die, as you see in the eyes of a human. I've seen those fucking videos from ISIS and shit. It's it's the same If humans have spirits, animals have spirits. If you can't differentiate yourself from animals that much, then you have to stop eating meat. Don't, where do you draw the line? Again, it, a retarded dog, and that's the thing. That's in the West they say, oh no, don't eat dogs because we think their IQ is high enough that they shouldn't be eaten. Don't eat the dolphins either because their IQ, and whales because their IQ is high enough that it means something. Where do you draw the line? My cousin's IQ was just about a dog's IQ, a puppy's IQ, maybe less. Where do you draw the line? I mean, I know donkeys are very, very intelligent. I know horses are very intelligent, but the French have, horse meat salamis. Again, where do you draw the line? It's if one has spirit, we all have spirit, and you know, I don't believe any of us have any spirit. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't believe any of us have spirit because that becomes difficult. Eating beef becomes very uncomfortable for me. So I know that if I have spirit, the cow has spirit. And because eating beef becomes very uncomfortable for me, then I rather not have a spirit. But that doesn't mean I'm Hillary Clinton. You know, it just doesn't mean I'm that. It's just that I understand for, civility, I understand, you know, I have more understanding than Hillary Clinton. None of us believes in God, but neither of us believes in God, but you can actually teach humanity. Uh, you can teach humanity. You can teach civility, and civility has nothing to do with God. I know very godly person who are very uncivil. When left and right it comes out these sexual mispractices of these church leaders comes out. It shows that civility and religion are not exactly correlated. There's no correlation between civility, humanity, and religion. It's not there. You hope it would be there. That's when the thing goes. But that's what happens when I say at least be Christian. Is like, okay, even your book says don't kill. What the fuck is going on in West Asia and Ukraine and here and there? It's so bad in the supposedly civilized parts of the world that nobody's paying attention to the recent wars in Africa. These people, it's not. They're not more civilized. That's the thing. You have even in these supposedly we say with democracy and white people and we are civilized. You forget to teach your people civility for 70 years now, 75 years now, because it was in conflict with your imperial ambitions. Teaching civility is in conflict with imperial ambitions. When you have imperial ambitions, you want to convince your people that we are better than them, so we can go teach them a lesson. That's that if But at the same time, if you teach your people civility, they will understand that no, you can't teach anybody anything if you're beating them up. But they haven't learned that. So, everybody is packing a gun, everybody is ready to shoot because Uncle Sam's managers wasn't beneficial for them to teach civility because it would go against their imperial narrative. Civility goes against imperial narrative. So empires usually, they say, empires collapse from the center is because in order to convince the troops to never mind the nuances of civility, never mind that, and go kill because we are better than them. If you want your group, your posse to do that, to be willing to do that, the first step is, not teach them civility. Because if you do teach them civility, if the first thing about civility is that you can't teach anybody by beating them or by shooting them or by killing them. You're not teaching anything. You're punishing. And you're not teaching a lesson by beating people up, by shooting at people. You're not teaching a lesson. You're punishing without a lesson. So, but then the point is that it's not a lesson. You're not there to teach them a lesson. You're there to conquer. But then, if the troops know that you're there to conquer, the troops put their life to defend. But troops, not many people, not many troops are willing to die to offend. Nobody walks down the street that, I want to be offensive people until I die. I want to risk my life being offensive to people. That doesn't happen usually, unless, My point is this: they have forgot to teach civility. Religion brings some civility to the table. You persuade people to become more religious. It brings some civility to the table because, the principles of religion is, thou shalt not kill and blah blah blah. But remember, again, this thou shalt not kill can be twisted by the religious people. That's the problem with religion, because remember, all the conquests in North America and South America were by very religious people. All the mayhem and massacres of natives in North America and South America was by the blessing of the church at the hands of very religious people. There's a joke about it, an old joke, that one of these preachers that was walking with the conquistadors, uh, at, after the conquistadors take over, kill all the villagers, Indian village, um, the last guy remaining, he's half alive, and they're about to chop his head off. The father, the preacher, the religious attachment of the platoon, asked the guy that, do you want to become Christian before you die? You will go to heaven, and this is going to be much better over there. This, that, and the other. And the guy says, will I be meeting you there? He says, yes, because I'm a Christian. I'm going to heaven. He said, no, thank you. So, I'm sorry. Go easy on the religion. It can be hijacked. Will be hijacked. Eventually, more religious wants to prove his or her religiosity more than the other ones, and then eventually you end up with a very religious person at the helm, and suddenly, you have crusades because we are better than them. You see where I'm going with this? And as it is right now going, I mean, look at Israel. That's a religious country. Do you see it going well? That's a very religious country. Do you want to look like Israel? It's been beating up on its neighbors day and night under a religious banner. Our God is the right God. I mean, I wouldn't want to be the person who makes a decision of letting a, you know, genetic mistake reach its final destination sooner. I wouldn't want to make that decision, but somebody has to make that decision, and kudos to them because it's a difficult decision, and they don't need their life to become harder because some people who send their children to boarding school, even their small intelligent children, don't have much looking after, not much. Even people who have money, and kudos to them, I think everybody should send their children to boarding school after age 12. But you know everybody should do that. But people who do that people who do that should not really tell people who can't do that to actually, not only they have to keep their intelligent children, but also they have to keep their unintelligent children. Casualties of drug use and casualties of alcohol and retarded children due to just genetic mistake have to be kept around because their spirit is nice. No, sir. No, no, no. Go spend 5 years taking care of a retarded child at the level of my cousin. Then come and tell me that both you and that person had a productive 5 years. You and the retarded child. After 5 years, come and tell me that you both had a productive life. That's the problem. That you know, putting one's in other people's shoes is difficult, and the more cul-de-sac your life has been, the less you can put yourself in other people's shoes. That's why, I mean, what kind of system puts in charge George W. Bush, who had never traveled before being a president? George W. Bush never traveled much, didn't read much. How can a system decide a group of people, and Dick Cheney, the lineman, electrical, high voltage lineman? Folks, these are cul-de-sac people with very little life experience. Who puts them in charge? Democracy. All the top leaders of China have done farming. There are pictures of them. They were, they were children of the previous leaders, but they have been put through the paces. They have done farming. They have been in industrial production. They have done some community work. Have come up through the ranks and have, shown ability in different levels. The guy is born in a rich family, grows up in a rich family. He himself has been able to stay rich by whatever means possible. And this gentleman knows life? No, the gentleman has been living in a cul-de-sac. Or the lady. I mean, people with life experiences should be in charge. People with life experiences are usually not very rich or not very liked by the rich because they tend to be moderate. People with life experiences tend to be moderate. Moderates are not liked by the rich, therefore in a democracy they cannot, in a capitalist democracy, they cannot be politicians because they're modest. Modest people, have you noticed that There are no modest people in Uncle Sam's Senate or House of Representatives. There's no modesty there. Why? Because modesty doesn't sell. Rich people certainly don't like modesty. Modest politicians are useless because they need somebody to take the fucking money and vote a certain way. A modest person who says, no, I don't want the money, I don't need the money, is not going to vote the way the rich person wants them to vote. Have you noticed no one, the presidential candidate, which one is modest? This, capitalist driven democracy doesn't bring modest to the people to the top because rich people have no use for modest people. But the problem is sane people are usually modest. They don't have extreme views, they have middle of the road views. They understand the worker also wants to send their children to boarding school, but you know they won't understand that why the rich person has to have 5 yachts and live in a house that most of the rooms are not even used. The guy doesn't know how many rooms he has in his house, or if he knows the numbers because somebody told him. He hasn't had the time to visit all his rooms. And then, the capitalist driven democracy does not go well along with modesty. Sanity is in modesty. Sanity is in the center, but the capitalist system doesn't like modesty. Modesty is useless. You can't sell modesty to the common man. Common man like extravagance. You can't sell modesty to the common man. It's trying to sell a Ford Focus to the common man. If the common man can afford a Hummer, the common man wants the Hummer. Then try to tell the common man that, yeah, you can afford the Hummer, but your politician likes to drive around in a Ford Focus. You see what I'm saying? Common man wouldn't want their politician to drive in a Ford Focus if he can afford a Hummer. If the common man can afford a Hummer himself, he wouldn't respect a politician who drives around in Ford Focus. But that's because capitalism has been put in charge of democracy. The politician who drives around in a Ford Focus is a sane politician. Should be the politician means he's modest, he's center. But have you noticed any politicians in North America bragging about driving around in a Ford Focus? I mean, Warren Buffett has been a better politician than most politicians in North America. Having the money, but still remaining modest and attached to people. And no, sir, please. Too much religion. You lose control of too much religion. Somebody more religious grabs hold of the ball and runs it to the end zone, which is theocracy, and which is not even you don't even approve of.